All right, everybody. So here I am. We're going to talk some SEO for WordPress. This is, I guess, gearing your website for WordPress and / auditing a website, so you guys kind of know what to do. I'm going to take a real-world example of my own site that currently ranks, and I'll show you guys my process and what I do to kind of gear it for SEO. So a little bit about me. For some people here probably don't know me. This is a quick intro. So my name's Dejan Mladenovski. Been involved in 4 years. My first number age 15 years old. I built a site that got 1 million visitors a month. Shortly after that, I built a site called Build Sydney, where I wrote the content, did the tech SEO, built the links, and that site is the site that's on WordPress that I will be for you guys tonight. I was the Young Search Professional finalist last year at the SEM Rush Awards, and we won Best Agency. Olga, what do you think? I'm co-organizer of the Sydney SEO Meetup, and I also run Organic Search Sydney, and I'm currently managing Tier 1 accounts, working at Prosperity Meetup. So there's some insight. So which site would I be auditing for you guys? Build Sydney. This is a site I personally started a few years ago. Basically, I just love high-rise development. I love construction. I thought, who better to start a website in the niche than me? So WordPress, where do I start, right? What tools do I need? So things we're going to check. We're going to check the Ssl Certificate. We're going to check the site speed. We're going to look into Google Search Console. We're going to do an on-site SEO optimization check. We're going to look for backlinks for our competitors and see what's going on there. And we're going to look for some low-hanging fruits as well. The tools we're going to be using are GT Metrics, which is a free tool. We're going to be using Analytics, which is a free tool. We're going to be using Screaming Frog to do the audit of the site. We're going to be using and Ahrefs. So let's start off with the very what everybody should do. So when you're starting off your WordPress site, make sure you're going into your settings, into the perma structure, and selecting post name. So this is essentially to make sure that your URLs are friendly. I mean, you can go into as well and put category if you choose so, but I've personally set it simply on post sample. SSL certificates. So Google came out last year and they said that they want on SSL. It's a ranking factor to have your site on HTTPS. So I've gone ahead and installed a wildcard SSL. Not a non-wildcard SSL. If you're running an e-commerce store on WooCommerce, it might be recommended to use a wildcard SSL. It's about $100 a year, just in case you're wondering. And what I did is I used the plugin Really Simple SSL to ensure that HTTPS propagation across the site. So site speed. So this is metrics, GT metrics. I'll explain the first 2 scores. So the top when I was in Sydney and I just did a run of the site. So 60, so 750 KBs. It's decent. But if you go down to the you're going to see that the site was loaded in 7.6 seconds and 65 scripts. Where discrepancy happens is the second test was done on 3G load speeds, and Google's mobile algorithm actually looks for sites and it scrapes it in 3G. It doesn't scrape it on an unthrottled connection, so keep it when you're actually optimizing your site speed. So the site breakdown. So as you can see, the site looks fine. It had a bit of a delay in connecting, but it's nothing too major. As you go down, it's clear that the images were not loading as quick as they should. There was a kind of a delay in what was going on, so this obviously needs to be addressed. As you can kind of see, going through it, there's further delays, and quite frankly, most of the content is images. So going back to the previous, if I can, so 65 requests up here. If you were to look at the optimal WordPress site, you want to keep it around 50. It's probably impossible if you're using any off the theme builder. It's going to be very, very difficult, but in an ideal world, you do want it to be below 50. So what plugins do I use on this site? I know James is a big fan of SEO Press, but I personally do pay for the WordPress premium version. I think it's a bigger site, you're getting some serious traffic, definitely invest into it. I use the Redirection Tool. Yoast offers it, but I've already mapped out all my redirections from many articles I built. I personally like it. I think it does the job. I think it's great. I use virtual text. That's by my robots.txt file personally. Saves me from going into the FTP client and finding it through there. I can just do it right there on the back end of the WordPress site. I use WordFence. Reason being is the site in question got hacked. So security is a number one thing. Lucky it happened on the early days. Now it gets over 20,000 a month, and I wouldn't want it happening now. And as previous slide, I use really simple SSL. So what you have here is an image out of Screaming Frog. So here we got some images that I clearly have not optimized. There are 6 for the big one, and I've pulled all images up to 500 kilobytes. Really, how big images be? I mean, no image on any website should be kilobytes at all, anywhere. You can use tools like Squoosh.app, which is Google has recently acquired. It can compress your images up to 95%. It will probably bring this 1.4 megabyte image down to 80, 70 kilobytes without losing. The key thing here is it doesn't quality. So to the user, Squoosh.app, spelled S-H-U, S-Q-U-O-O-S-H.app. So yeah. Oh, for this actual audit, I'll be having a few slides about it, but I actually use Screaming Frog, and Screaming Frog it's called. So it's free up to 500 pages, or like 500 elements of a site. That includes JavaScript, CSS. But after that, you use the paid version.
So what looks like?
Screaming Frog. Are you talking? Squoosh.app. Squoosh. SQUOOSH.app. No dramas. Alright, so here I found like multiple pages. I mean, looking at the pages, this is where you kind of have to do like your own analysis and see, okay, which pages warrant a meta description. Here, clearly development maps, construction statistics, I've messed up here, I haven't put them in for whatever reason, probably because these are pages. And when you're using, I think I was doing this before I had the Yoast Premium, and it doesn't tell you to, for whatever reason, to like put meta descriptions in pages. So, yeah, that's a mess that I need to go back and fix. And I wouldn't recommend on page 3, page 5, I don't recommend putting meta descriptions on those pages. I recommend canonicalizing those pages back to the main homepage. Yeah, a few pages that need to be worked on as well. Page title's too long. What we're actually looking at is a lot of people seem to think to look at title length. I disagree. I look at pixel title length. So what this is Google has a for about pixels, and that's what your title tag should be. You could say, because if you're just using, I guess, O's versus you're using L's, the O's are going to be longer than the L's. So you've got to make sure that what you're actually using is you're using the 600 pixel width length to make sure you don't get those 3 dots at the end of every page title in Google when it's displayed. So I had some broken 404s. Here I have some pages that no longer exist that I linked to from my own page. So clearly what I need to go back and use a tool I mentioned earlier called Redirection, and what I just need to redirect these pages to relevant pages on the site. A big question that gets asked is, where do you redirect the pages to? Do you redirect the pages to a category page, or do you redirect it to a home page? That's done on a case-by-case basis. In this instance, looking at the element, I would probably redirect these pages to, if they're like to high-rise, or redirect it to like the transport category. I might redirect the high-rise category. In certain instances where it's kind of not related to anything, I may to the home page, but it's always done on a case-by-case basis. So here's a competitor analysis that I did using a tool called Ahrefs. What I'm looking at for here, domain rating. Doing this is to see where I currently sit versus my competitors. So this is a good indicator of how authoritative my website is versus my competition. So I'm myself not coming up for several keywords or terms that my competitors are. What the next step normally is to see how your competition is faring in terms of how many links are coming back to their site. You know, a lot of people say, oh, links matter for SEO. 100% they do, 100%. But you've got to make sure that your links are quality. The key is quality over quantity. Here, what I did is I did a keyword gap. So this is a tool called SEMrush, and what I did is I plugged my domain and I plugged a few of my competitors. I'm essentially looking for here is I'm looking to see what keywords my competitors are ranking for that I'm not ranking for. So here, if you look at the total, I've got about 40 I could be ranking for that I'm not currently ranking for. So that's a massive content gap that I'm currently like lacking on the site that I can work on. So low-hanging fruits. This is a little quick intro to it. Basically, what I'm doing here is I'm looking at Google's second page results, and I'm looking at where I can come up and where I can easily kind of penetrate the first page. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for queries that kind of have decent search volume, where I'm like hovering around the 13, 15, 14 mark, where all that's going to be required is maybe update of the content, or maybe one link from one of my, from a relevant site within the network, or something like that. Something where I'm seeing that there's potential. I've analyzed, I'll go and I'll have a look at what this keyword is. I'll go into Google search results and I'll see how competitive the space is, and then I'll assess whether that potential of the keyword is there to rank on the first page. Then what I go ahead is I'll like analyze what the intent of the keyword is. So a big fruits is sometimes, yes, you could have great content for that keyword, but you've got to ensure that the search intent for that keyword is on point. What is search intent? I mean, I could probably do a whole talk on search intent, but a quick brief discussion on what search intent is. It's knowing what the user is searching for. So if you pull out your phones and on google.com.au search the word construction, I'm currently coming up, I think, 3rd in Sydney for the word construction. Google doesn't know what to show for this result. Google shows like seek.com.au. Google shows, an insider construction forum. It shows my site. It shows various different sites because Google hasn't worked out the search intent for those head terms. For longer tail keywords like Sydney Metro map, the clear intent for this type of keyword is an image. They want to see an image because the word map implies you want to see image. So yeah, I hope that got a brief little rundown on it. Low-hanging fruits again. This time I'm looking for things that are in position 5 to 10 that I can move up into the top 4. The CTR on positions in the top 4 are a lot higher than the positions below. The average that we see, first result normally gets 30%. If there's a featured snippet, you could go up to 35%. But it depends. Like Google's come out and they've added all different elements to the page, all sorts of semantic markup, all sorts of different schema. So this is always done on a keyword basis. Always got to analyze each keyword individually if you're trying to rank for a head term. Same thing as here. This is a bit more tough to do. Looking for here is where I'm ranking 2 to 3, and I'm going to make a big jump. So here I'm ranking for 3rd for Crown Sydney, Crown Casino, Barangaroo, etc. For me to rank for this keyword to number 1 is almost impossible. That's pretty much as high as I'm going to get because at the end of the day, I'm never going to rank above Crown Casino's official website. I'm never going to rank above that. So I know that's a waste of time. But having said that, Melrose Park is a huge development on Victoria Road. There is a potential to rank there because Google kind of doesn't know who to put there. So there's a lot more of an opportunity for these types of keywords than there is for these types of keywords. Sorry? Second, still it's not first. So, analysis. So, I check the behavior flow of a given period and compare it. What I did is essentially I segmented the data via organic traffic and I looked at which pages are dropping. So here, I've got a page. I've got pages where I'm getting 6,000 for 5,800 visitors in June to July, but I was only getting 1,200 visitors in March to June. What I'm really looking for here is pages because I saw an opportunity in March to kind of ramp up this keyword. So what I essentially did is I always segment the data, and then once I've done analysis on it, I then go back and see what I've done or how I've performed. You could go the other way as well and see which pages have dropped from the previous month, and then you're going to say, okay, what have I done to kind of lose rankings? Have I got new competitors? Have I lost links? Is there more fresh content? Is there been an update in the space that I haven't covered? I guess you can take this 2 ways, but that's kind of the analysis I'd personally be doing in Google Analytics. So Google Search Console, here I'm looking for security issues. As I said before, I did get brute force hacked on this site. I wasn't using username admin, if you're wondering. Don't use admin as your username. 1, 2, 3. Yes. So what I've got is a secure server, a bit more expensive, but you get what you pay for really with WordPress hosting. And what you're looking for is you want to go into Google Search Console, you want to security issues on the left-hand side, and you want to see that there's. Similarly, you want to ensure any manual penalties. So this is a more of a severe kind of for SEO. So what you want to ensure here is you're not getting any spammy structure, or that you haven't been doing any like black hat link building practices. If you're doing any of that and you have been caught out by Google and you've noticed a drop in traffic, chances are it'll pop up here. Not always. If it's algorithmic based, you won't see anything pop up here. But if you have been personally targeted and you have been performing like dodgy off-page practices, or dodgy on-page practices, which include like keyword stuffing, or using like a white text on a white background to like hide content, those are the kinds of things that Google frowns upon. So you'd see that here. So what else do we look for in Search Console? I just had a quick run through to see if there's any like mobile first problems. Google came out last year in, I believe, July 2018, and they said they were rolling out a mobile first algorithm. What that essentially means is they scrape your site, your mobile site, and they rank based on your mobile position. So it's a mobile first ranking system. Your mobile site gets crawled before your desktop site. And what Google's actually looking for is to see that, if your site's responsive, does the content break the screen? Is the text too small to read? Are the elements too close? I personally looked into these, and it was all pages that didn't warrant me to worry. So if you do see, you have a few errors here, look into it. Don't just could be something major, it could be something site-wide that could easily be ramified, and you could see the rankings improvement. So what are my final recommendations? So I saw that I need to update content on multiple pages. I need clear link acquisition. I need to build the authority of the domain. Those were quite low. I need several external JavaScripts and CSSs, as was mentioned in the GT. To compress certain images using that swoosh app that I referred to, and those already done. So, quick shout out now. Running the biggest SEO conference in Australia. Anybody wants to go, this is a $1,500 conference. This is going to be very, very reasonably priced. In fact, if you use the WordPress coupon, it's $118. We've got international speakers. They're signing for affiliates, for in-house SEOs, for agency SEOs. It's going to be the biggest event next year. It's on February 10th, and let's all make it. And yeah, thank you for my presentation. I hope you picked up a tactic or two, and yeah, I'm open to questions. There you go. Yes, any questions? Anybody?
About the fire attack,
yeah.
50 times.
Yeah, so I mean, like, so Google came out, and what they did is essentially they changed the text they used. They actually changed the font of the style of the text that they use. So before 55 could fit, 50 couldn't. Then it's just got tricky. So what the golden number here is 600 pixel width character. So what do I mean by that? So if you have any CSS experience, you'll know that it's all measured in pixel width. And what you want to ensure is that your title is not exceeding the 600 pixel width. I actually recommend go on Google, search page title optimizer, and to ensure that you can see what it looks like. I don't trust Yoast's, even though I use Yoast Premium, I don't always trust how it looks like at the bottom of the SERP, because it doesn't always produce real world results. I sometimes do see it
what's the
yes.
difference if you host it in Sydney, the website, versus you host it in the US?
Yeah, so I host it in Sydney, and I paid to host it in Sydney. Why? Because my audience is based in Sydney. And something I didn't mention in this talk is TTFB, so that's time to first byte. And what that essentially is that's a ranking factor. So Google's looking at how close your server is and where your actual audience is. And they're going to serve results that are closest to your audience to have the fastest response time. What you're looking here is you're essentially looking for your response time. This particular site was running on about 9 seconds, so which is quite fast. If you're going to host in let's just say Singapore or the US, you're automatically losing about 200 milliseconds, and you can't compete with the local sites. So 100%, if your demographic is if your user base is local, 100% host local and pay the extra money.
Have you found that even if you use CDN?
I do use Cloudflare CDN, but at the end of the day, if that Cloudflare CDN then has to go elsewhere, you're not getting that time first byte benefit. So yeah, 100% still host in Sydney.
Can we get this?
Can we get this? Yeah, sure, hit me me up after, I can see what I can do. At the back. Case by case, like I'd say, how big are the images in question? If it's too big, no, I wouldn't recommend it. Like I would 100%, first and foremost, as a temporary solution, I wouldn't be doing something site-wide, just putting a plugin like that. I would go and individually, like, you could use bulk, like compressing tools, but I would do it manually. If the images are that big to begin with, and they're particularly on multiple pages, the good thing with a tool like Screaming Frog is not only can it show you like how big the image is, it'll show you all the pages that are using that image. So you could, like, a process of elimination could be where if megabyte image that's on 50 pages versus a 20 megabyte image on one page, obviously that 10 megabyte image is going to get compressed first because it's actually across the entire site. That's all right. Anybody else? Yes. Yes, GT metrics. So when you sign up, make sure you actually create an account, because if you don't create an account, the only place you can test from is Vancouver. When you create a free account, you can test it from Sydney. So. Correct. Yes. Yeah, so Google Maps has an entirely different algorithmic process. Yeah, I mean, I could do a whole talk on local SEO if I wanted to, but yeah, it's completely different algorithm, different factors at play, proximity is at play. Reviews are disputed, but it's a completely different ballgame. Yeah. And yes.
Sorry, first, without plugging SEO Press, but they do the 600 pixel thing in SEO Press.
Yeah.
It doesn't look perfect, but they give you an idea of who's who. So.
Well, there you go.
But my question was, with regards to analytics, often it's really hard to tell where people searches are coming from, especially if they're logged into Google itself. Like the keywords they don't give you any information.
Yep.
What keywords that people are using.
Yep.
How do you sort of get around that?
Yeah, we've tried things to plug it into Google Analytics, try to get the data. We can't. Like, the closest you can get is using Google Search Console and using the performance. That's probably the closest real world answer I can give you, even though, as you probably know, it's not perfect, right? Like, you're going to see major discrepancies of like what's being shown, but it is getting better. I must admit, it is getting better. So yeah.
Can you use like a proper title with keyword insight?
Sorry, say that again. I couldn't quite make that.
Can you use a title?
Oh yeah, 100%. So obviously, if your title, if you're going to create a title and your page, obviously you want the title text to have the context of the page. So you want to tell Google what that page is about, and that will most likely include putting the keywords in. Just make sure you're talking, especially like there's the latest algorithm update that came out. And what that essentially is that's an update. It's looking for natural language. So you want to be putting the title tag, would be speaking to another person, or as an article you'd read on, maybe not an AFR or Sydney Morning Herald, but along those lines. Make it for the human and make sure it includes your title tag or your like keyword, essentially keyword. Yes. No. It's an off-the-shelf news, it's called, newspaper theme, but it's just customizable. So yeah, like if you do create, have less scripts and you're going to have less things in the background. But if you do buy an off-the-shelf theme, you can actually get out any code that's not being used. So it just really depends on like what your budget's going to be when you're beginning to like start the site, and yeah. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, appreciate your time, and yeah, I guess we'll have a break. Go from there. Thanks.